Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, have you ever tried to get a plumber to come to your house on a Saturday and not expect to pay at least three bills for them to come? Well, guys, you want to find out where the real money is? It's in the trades. If you ever look at the guys with the biggest houses, most of them are in the trades. And we're going to be talking about that today with my brother. I was on his amazing podcast. We're going to be talking a lot of things. We're going to be talking business. We're going to be talking faith. We're going to be talking recovery. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. And he is the Don. And of me being from Italian culture, we're going to talk about how he became the Don. My brother, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Actually, I'll be honest. Let me keep it 100 with you. I'm sick. Like, I'm feeling sick. Last time you were on my podcast, you kept it 100. You were like, "Look, dude, I'm so excited. I don't care. I'm sick. I don't care. Like, I'm here." And bro, I'm here. I'm excited to talk about the trades. Um, I'm doing a lot in podcasting, so just being able to be on someone else's podcast is definitely encouraging, and it's inspiring to others, and I'm excited to do it. So let's freaking roll, bro.
All right, so let's talk about my first question is going to be, what is your definition of resiliency? But I also want to talk about the reason why I'm asking that, because not only are you a podcast host, not only are you a prolific businessman, you're also a domestic abuse survivor. You're also an ex addict. So
Yeah.
your life hasn't always been sunshine, rainbows, and sprinkles. So
Yeah.
talk us, what is your definition of resiliency?
So I guess resiliency, you bring up the domestic abuse. Um, that I think that started whenever the domestic abuse started, because you got to find that place, and it's that calm in the middle of the storm, and you just have to focus on that place. And for me, resilience is how you react to the situation, and how and resilience and is not always in my life is not always strong. Sometimes my resilience isn't as strong as I want it to be, but as a developing businessman, father, ex addict, right, and all these things, like, you develop your resilience as you grow older, as you grow through life, and I didn't say go, I said grow. And because we're like constantly growing as we're going through life. So it's it's a very interesting question. It's a very layered question. I think you could probably, even go into like spiritual aspect too of resilience, and who is the author and finisher of your faith, and who keeps you grounded, because when those times get tough, like, you can't, I'm not big enough to handle what is thrown at me. I'm not. I have to have something bigger than me to get through that, and for me, that's Jesus Christ. So, um, I think that resilience starts, with that, and that is faith. And it's grounded in that.
Now, me and you have a lot in common, and we covered a lot of it on your show. Guys, make sure you get a chance to check out his show. Truly amazing. But, I'm a recovering addict. I'm also a business owner. I'm a father and I'm a husband. So, but, you know, sometimes even the strongest have weak times.
Yeah.
And I think that's where resilience comes in, because resilience is, like Rocky said, you get knocked down 7, you come back 8. That's resilience. So, take us back into the DeLorean. Let's go in the Wayback Machine. Tell us a little bit about where you come from, where'd you grow up, and how did you get into the crazy world of trades?
Yeah. So, crazy. So I lived in 14 different states before I graduated high school. So mom liked to travel around, and it was because of the men that she was with right at the time. Um, One in particular is oil field guy, chief engineer, and so we traveled a whole lot. He was in a lot of different ports. He was second in command on the boat, and so that meant that that father figure was gone for a very long period of time, and I had to be that guy. And because I had a mom and I had a sister, and we went to school, and bills had to get paid, etc. And I know those are things that like kids don't necessarily think about these days. And maybe there are kids that are out there because I was out there that and I had to, but I was always worried about the next meal, until we had that solid, I guess, her relationship with um, that man that was my stepfather. His name's Daniel. He was actually a really, really great guy. He cheated on my mom, and I really didn't even hold that against her. He did that. It was like once or twice, right? And I actually caught him, which is so crazy. But I come from this crazy world of mixed family. My father was never there. I never knew my father. Um, I was a product of what many call date rape. My mom was very, very intoxicated. She was with someone she didn't know here in Houston, and things happened, and here I am. So there was a lot of things like, you know, I'm one of those babies that survived the abortion clinic. Like my mom took, went to an abortion clinic and was going to get an abortion and didn't get an abortion that day for some reason. She had to pay for it, and I believe that was the reason financially. She couldn't like completely afford it. Uh, I I I'm supposed to be here, right? And so, you know, when I look at and this kind of goes back to resilience because I'm like taking you back into the DeLorean, back into the dark ages of my life. Uh it wasn't pretty. Like our life as my mom was single, let's go all the way back to like 7 years old. Single in St. Louis, East St. Louis, okay? East side of St. Louis, single white woman with a white child in the east side of St. Louis, an apartment complex. It was wild, okay? My family was mixed. My sister's half, which is absolutely amazing. I love the dynamic that we had in our family, but it caused a lot of problems even within our own family. Just being from one place to the next and not having any kind of stability in our life, we were labeled the black sheep of the family. And it wasn't skin color, it wasn't anything besides the stability portion. And when you look at a lot of cultures, they think the same way as well about a lot of families, right? Like if the family's not secure, if the family's not has money, then they're looked down on. And if you say this is false, then you're a liar because it happens in school. All these kids are bullied for what they wear, what shoes are on their feet, etc. And so there was a lot of, you know, domestic violence there in that home. My mom was beat. I'd come home to her getting beat up, and naturally, I'd want to try to help that situation, and so I'd end up getting beat because I'm trying to beat up the guy, get him off, and this transpired for quite some time. What we didn't know about my mom was she had some psychological issues, and she's paranoid schizophrenic. And so these were some of the decisions that she made were because of this type of psychological disease that she was having. And so, you know, my family decided that they were going to step in and, they took a hold of me and decided to keep me, and take me out of that situation, which I thank God for. And during that time, I was able to learn that you can't even trust your family. You can't trust nobody around you, and and that you're alone in this world, and that the only being out there that truly cares is God the Father. And I learned this at a very young age because I'm in and out of women's homes and women's shelters, and uh, ran away, you know, at like 5 years old. These things were because of the drugs, because of the alcohol, because of the decisions that were made in the life of my mother. But you can let those things define who you are, or you can use those to develop who you are. And I chose for a very long time to let it define me. And I had to learn how to use those things to develop myself. Um, if you're sitting here and you're listening and you're like, dude, holy shit, this is deep, right? Like, maybe you're out there and you're like, dang, I'm I've gone through this. And how did you get therapy, dude? Like, I went to a ton of therapy, and I've done a ton, I'm telling you, a ton of different mental exercises. Went to AA and NA and out like alcohol, like all different kinds of classes, not just alcohol, but like parenting classes and life classes, to try and refigure out who I am. And what's crazy is, like, this story I've never even told on my podcast. So like this is kind of coming out for the first time, which is kind of cool. Uh, but this life of addiction and fatherlessness um and abuse and neglect and alienation, because I touched on all of those, from the family to the abuse to the alienation. These are all things, these are all consistents, they're constants that happen in our family. It does not matter what generation that you are in. Every single person in my family has had to deal with those 5 things. And so as an adult, I had to change from chasing the high and chasing to cover up those 5 things, right? And instead of covering those up, deal with them. And that is resilience. Learning how to deal with those things in a constructive way and not in a negative way. Um, and so naturally, because I was in a broke home, I was in an addictive home, an abusive home, I looked at people that had more or had the opposite of these things. I had friends that had really awesome families, really awesome lives. And a lot of these people, their dads and stuff, they were in construction. And I'm just like, okay, cool. It's in construction. Like, whatever, right? Like, dad was gone a lot, but uh always had what they needed. It was really, really on the outside, I was like, that's what I want. Right. And so as a young adult, um, I decided to get on a roofing crew. I had seen a lot of different people that were making some money. A couple of my friends were on a Duralast roofing crew, and I was like, "Let's do that." It's not shingles. Well, I didn't know, but like I didn't know. But when you're a flat roofer, you kind of you really got to know if you're a good flat roofer, you kind of got to know how to do it all. And the reason why is because on a lot of businesses, they've got what's called a mansard around the front of it. And it's just like an angled portion of the roof. And so sometimes that's metal, sometimes that's shingles, sometimes that's wood shake, you know, it's a wide variety of things. And so I jumped up on this crew and I'm laboring. I mean, you know, 12, 16-hour days, away from the family across the US. We were doing retrofits of Sonics, we were doing Jack in the Box, we were doing all sorts of we did the America Mensa building in Arlington, Renew Roofing, big shout out to Renew Roofing. Still really do thank you, Bobby, for giving me that job. That was the entrance into my career. I wouldn't be sitting where I'm sitting now if I wouldn't have asked for that job. So thank you, Bobby, for that job. Bobby, super smart, always plan for absolutely everything. I mean, plan for disaster. That he planned for disaster. We were outfitted to the nines. It was a good operation. I mean, we had everything that we needed. And then when we didn't, we sat on our butt and stuck, it was just like, come on, man. If you're in construction, you know what I'm talking about. You order the wrong, materials. You got to pull the materials off the yard. You got your guys sitting on the roof, inside, plumbers, whatever. And they're like, I'm getting paid, dude. Like, whatever, bro. Like 9 to 5. I'm sitting here until that material shows up. And so, I naturally, I wanted more. I had kind of graduated from the local 9 to 5 type pay to about $75,000-$80,000 a year, and I was ready for more. As a young kid, I had a landscaping business, and I didn't talk about that, but I had to help pay the bills. Like I had to like make a means to help pay the bills, and so that a landscaping business did that. So my mind immediately is like, I got to be the boss. Like I got to figure out how to do this myself. I need Bobby's job, but I don't know what Bobby knows, and so I need to learn. So I'm thinking, how do I do that? So I find the sales rep. God rest her soul. This woman, she had all kinds of stuff. She had a nice Jeep and all sorts of stuff. And mind you, I'm a broke bastard. Okay, I'm driving a 1990 Delta 88, an Oldsmobile, and it's a praise God for that Oldsmobile. Barbara, my godmother, thank you for that Oldsmobile. It was what we needed, but I was broke, and so I wanted something more. I'm like, a Jeep would be nice, right? And right about this time, I'm in a new relationship. I just had a child. I was 17, 18 years old. And so I've got a baby. And my girlfriend at the time took our child and ran. And so I didn't even have the opportunity to see him, uh, to know him, to be a father. She alienated. Again, one of those 5, alienation, completely alienated. And so I'm I've got a driving factor, and I'm like working on these roofs, these flat roofs. And I'm like, look, I gotta do something different. Like I gotta sell. I gotta make it to the next bracket. So naturally, I quit my job. No, I didn't. I got fired. I was doing some stupid shit. Like, I don't think I've talked about this either, besides my wife. Um, it was here in Houston, actually. It was a safety concern, right? Like, I was on a job site and I was fooling around on the job site with a pallet, and I didn't have my FRs and shit like that. So it's like when I really shouldn't have been messing around, I could have gotten away with that at the shop, right? Like out in the back in the country, could have gotten away with it. I'm on a job site in the middle of Houston. It just wasn't called for. So I lost my job and I went back to Chicken Express. And I'm working at Chicken Express and I'm like washing these dishes, dog. I'm like washing these dishes and I'm looking at the wall and I'm washing these dishes and I'm like, fuck these damn dishes. I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm fucking throwing this shit around. I'm like, I'm fucking meant for more than this shit. I was making $5,000-$6,000 a week sometimes as a 10, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid. I'm 20 years old and I'm 18 years old and I'm freaking washing dishes. I can do more than this. I was mad.
Okay, let me ask you a question real quick. Because if you say you were making $6,000 a week, why are you still driving the Oldsmobile and not driving the Jeep?
Good question. So location is everything. So when I was making that money, I was in Weatherford, Texas. Really very growing community. Still's growing. I mean, it's almost hitting Fort Worth, right? Because you got all those towns in between. We went from there to Lake Whitney, Texas, which is on the side of a lake. All right. The business I was doing was landscaping. The median income is like, I don't know. Hold on. Let me look it up right now. Median income of Whitney, Texas.
Because according to calculations, you're pulling down about $250,000 a year.
Yeah, 39,250. It's not consistent, right? I was 13, 14-year-old kid, so it wasn't completely consistent. But some of the weeks I was pulling in $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. 6 weeks I wouldn't work, right? But then I'd come back and I had, bro, I'm telling you, I had maintenance contracts. I had contracts with these property owners to mow their yards. And I'm knee high to a grasshopper, dog. I had to have an ID. I had to pay sales tax. I had to do all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I was making good money. And we went from Weatherford, Texas to Lake Whitney. Okay. Let me tell you the difference in the median incomes between both of those places. Okay. Median income in Weatherford, Texas is $75,613. Median income in Lake Whitney is $39,215. Fucking half. Okay. I was going to say, shooting off the hip, 20 grand, 25. My wife and I together made 22. Together, 40 hours a week. We were broke. There are some people that are out there that are watching this and they're like, how does this relate to me? Because resilience is everything. And when I was sitting in the Chicken Express, and I thank God for that job too. I needed that job. That job got me to where I'm at now. I'm laboring and I'm washing dishes. And whether you wash dishes, you clean somebody's feet, you do it to the best of your ability. And that's what I was doing. And I wanted a way out. And my way out was business and learning how to operate business. So I'm back at the Chicken Express. Friend of mine comes up at closing. It's like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. He's like, hey, bro, I got this opportunity. It's in roofing. And I'm like, okay, well, Bobby just fired me. And he goes, no. It's another roofing. It's the job you want. It's sales. He shows me this newspaper clipping from Roofing and Restoration Services of America, RRSA. Big shout out to RRSA, Corey Sanchez. It was awesome being able to serve under you guys. But really, the true honor was being able to work under Marty Haight. God rest his soul. It was an amazing opportunity. But it was in the paper. And so I'm like reading this American Classifieds. I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, make $100,000 in your first year, and I'm in a median income of $39,000 in the whole freaking town. Okay, the richest people are making $75,000 and $100,000 in that town. Right now, truly, the richest people are on the lake, right? And they're not in that median income numbers, but nonetheless, like I'm in that zone. So I take this newspaper clipping and I'm like, what do you want me to do? Said, I want you to drive to Waxahachie. And we're in Lake Whitney to Waxahachie's quite a bit. It's about an hour and a half. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Well, I don't have really the gas because, mind you, I'm not making $39,000. I'm making $12,000 a year. My wife is making, we weren't married at the time, but we were both making $12,000 a year. So I couldn't afford to put gas in the car. I was walking to work, right? So I've got just enough gas money to make it there. I cannot make it back. And I get there and there's like 20 dudes. And we're all at the house. We meet up at his house and we're like, all right, let's go to this interview. And Corey was flying in, and somehow Corey got delayed, so we had to postpone it to the next day. Postpone it to the next day. I can't feed myself because I don't have the money, quite literally. I paid my bills. I put the gas in the car, which was the money for food for me, right? Because I'm walking to work, mind you. So this was quite a bit of leap of faith for me. So I'm like, hey, bro, you're gonna have to figure something out. I want the job, so I'll stay the night. I've stayed the night at this guy's house before, so I'm like, where's Nana at? I'm gonna grab pillow and blanket, grab me a little pallet on the floor. Like, I know the routine. I know what's up. Well, I didn't think that everyone was gonna do that too, but all 20 of us slept in that room, one room in this house in Waxahachie. And then we went to the interview the next day. There was about 10 of us that got the job. So half of us actually got a job. Out of those people, there were 5 of us that got the opportunity to like have a per diem. And so I had on my experience level, I had been working in roofing. And so they had thought, well, this guy needs to be up front, right? I also had a car. I couldn't afford to put any gas in it, though. Well, they didn't. And if you're in the trades industry and you're listening to this, you're like, it doesn't matter. He's on the hook. Like, they got him now. So they did, they wrote me a check. And it was at that time the biggest check that I had seen in 1 week in a very long time, since I was pushing, the yard mowing equipment in Weatherford, Texas. And so I'm looking at this check and I'm like, okay. So I could probably, right or wrong real quick, or I could take off with this money, or I could fulfill my word. So I fulfilled all my word and I packed up. 24 hours later, I drove from Lake Whitney, which is like the Waco, Texas area, all the way up to Amarillo, Texas. And if you're Texan, excuse me, this is how tradesy I am. Roofer. We'll take a brief interruption, tell you a little bit about a roofer. Roofer is a digital way to get your measurements. I'm not getting paid by Roofer. Roofer is not a sponsor of mine. I just really like Roofer. And they have like a whole CRM and everything. So if you guys are out there and you do roofs and you need CRM or digital measurements, Roofer is definitely a good one. So I'm super thirsty, but anyhow, so they got me, sent me up to Amarillo. If you're from the Texas area, Amarillo, kind of a long journey up there. So I get all the way up there, and I didn't wait. Like, everybody's like, I need business cards. I need this. I need that. And I'm thinking about all these things. I'm like, yes, all these things are good. But what I need is I need to take care of my rent, and I got a baby. And at that time, I had a baby on the way too. So me and my wife, Sarah, now we had our firstborn on the way, Junior. And so we were scrambling, right? I was to like, and I know my wife was too, to provide. And a lot of people I know are in that. And I know where you're at. It comes from a real place. And so again, I'm like, I've got to make this happen. And all these people are making excuses. And instead, I decided that I'm just going to go out and do it myself. Well, I couldn't afford like business cards or anything like that. I just thought if I knock on enough doors, somebody's going to let me bid their project. And I didn't know how to deal with insurance companies. I didn't know I was there. I just knew people were getting roofs there. And so I'm like, I texted the sales manager and I said, why are like, where are the roofs at? And he's like, everywhere. Look up. Right. And I'm like, okay, dad joke, like everyone's everyone's got to have a roof. And he goes, no, no, for real. Uh, Here, let me send you an address. Well, he sent me into like where the hail hit the hardest, and this was 8 months ago. And if anybody has any idea about what happens after a storm hits, there are these people called fly by night. They come, they take your money, and they leave. And then
Yep.
there are people that actually go that come supplementally, like our RSA and some of these other companies that develop a business structure in that town and stay, right? Or come back and or develop relationships with local roofing contractors that fulfill those warranties for those jobs. And it's called a set. So that's actually how we were operating. We were operating underneath a I can't necessarily say which one because I'm not under an NDA anymore, but we're underneath a certain brother, right? Like that was up there. And so we we worked underneath them. It was an awesome thing. So get this. So to give you an idea about the amount of money there is in claims and in roofing, this is insane. Okay. So I'm in an area, all the roofs are done, all of them. There's not one roof that was in this area that hadn't been done. It's the nicest road over there. It's Coulter Drive. So if you're from Amarillo, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Coulter's really fluent area. And so pretty much everything over there had been buttoned up. Uh, so I'm like on these nice streets and these nice homes, and I'm knocking doors. And a client, one of the homeowners answers the door and he says, "Hey, I don't know if anybody else told you, but everybody's roof over here has been done." And I said, "No, I get it, but like there was a hailstorm." And he goes, "No, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why our roofs are done." And I'm like, "No, you could still have damage." And he goes, "I'm not getting it. I'm still not getting it." He's trying to put me on the money, but I'm still focused on let me inspect your home. So he goes, "You know what? Go ahead and get up there and tell me if I got damage." It's going to tell me two things. And he didn't tell me this, but it was going to tell that property owner two things. A, am I trustworthy? And B, do I really know what I'm talking about? And so I propped up a ladder and I climbed up on the roof. And it's like a 12-12 pitch, but I climbed up in a valley. And so I go all the way up to the roof, the tip top of the roof, the ridge, and I'm sitting up there and I'm scared. And I'm probably up there for 20, 30 minutes before I come down. And I really didn't move much around up there. I did look a little bit right there, but you can't really move on a 12-12. So I got down, thankfully. And when I got down, he's like, "Hey, I just want to let you know that my roofer, the actual owner of the company, has never stepped foot on my roof. He's never done that." "How old are you, son?" And I tell him, 18. So he tells me, there's this job across town and to go across town. And so, naturally I go across town. That's my first job. Signed that job the first day that I decided I was going to knock doors, which was the second day after I got there. Naturally, the first day I got checked into my hotel, got all my stuff that I needed, toothbrush, toothpaste that I forgot, right? And the next day I was rocking and rolling and I made a sale.
Okay, but let me ask you a question. And by the way, Cameron, I just want to say thank you for hanging out with us today. I appreciate you. But if you weren't honest when you stepped off that roof, and you would have been like, "Well, this is jacked up, and you wouldn't have got that second chance if you weren't being upfront and honest. Like, I worked with GNC for 30 years.
Yeah.
And if I tell you this drink works awesome, but it tastes like ass, if you come back to me and say, "You know what? It tasted like ass, but it worked great," you're going to trust me. But if I would have said, "Bro, this thing tastes awesome and kicks ass," you're going to come back to me and be like, "First of all, you lied to me because it tastes like ass. I'm not going to buy anything from you ever again." But because you came off this roof after a half hour into Texas heat, and you're like, "It's perfect. It's good."
Yeah.
He knew that you weren't a bullshitter. You weren't a liar. And
Yeah,
I think that's why you got the second chance.
Yeah. I mean, I saw like an issue on the flashing on the skylight. And so I said something. I was like, "Hey, I'm not like, I said, I'm a flat roof professional. So I know skylights. And I know this is, it's not supposed to be lipped up like that. So you may want to call your roofer, but the shingles look great. I mean, like, you told me that it was new. So, I probably should have just believed you, but I did want to make sure that you didn't have any damage." And he said, "Dude, you've got salt. Let me give you an address." And it was a $4,000 job. It was 20 squares. I drew it out by hand. I got up on the roof, measured it by hand, drew it out, and not like that was the first thing. I went there and took terrible pictures, went back to the sales office. It's like 20 minutes from the office. Went back to the sales office. Sales manager's like, "No, that's not good enough. You're going to need to get up there. You need to take pictures of the pipe jacks, the ridge, the blah, 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 blah." He gives me a sample. So I go back to the property and take these photos. Well, then he's like, "You got to measure it." Come on, man. Like, if I was a sales manager, and I have been, but if I was my sales manager at that time, I would have been with me in the field selling that job. But they didn't. I mean, I sold that thing. I went back and forth, back and forth. The reason why I say that is it wasn't as easy as just going over there and taking pictures. I had to do the work to get the job, right? But I got the job because of the honesty. You hit it on the head. And I think that's an important quality that a lot of people, they search for it. They believe it. They believe it's still out there. And I know there's a lot of people that are watching, even myself. I give up on humanity sometimes. I'm just like so tired of everybody's shit. And but people are honest. People are true. People are genuine.
But I think if you want to get great at sales, you need to do door to door. You need to, like, for me, I did door to door. I sold timeshares. I sold cemetery plots. If you want to be great at sales, you have to learn to take a lot of no's.
Yeah.
And then once you realize, wait a minute, if my closing percentage is 20%, I got to get 8 no's to get those 2.
Yep.
So, okay, so I'm going to do 100 sales calls a day. I'm going to have 120. I'm going to have 20 sales because that, but you have to learn to take those 80 no's and be like, okay, you don't need a roof. Okay, next. Instead of
It's a
just saying, oh,
but
come on, you need a roof. And no, just move the fuck on. You know what I mean? And so many
yeah,
people don't want to take no.
I mean, so I was I read this little book called The Little Red Book of Selling, and, and, like, in that, it's like, it teaches you how like, some of the psychological ways to sell, and then also, the way in which, like, how many times that you push for the sale. So I was pushy. I mean, I was really pushy, and there were some clients that were like, "Dude, my roof is just fine, but you're hungry. I've got this project in the backyard." And I at that time, I it was deserving because I was very, very young. Um, Nobody knew I had a family at home, right? So they're like they're also they weren't like doing it in a disrespectful way of like, here, go like, you know, fix my porch or go fix my, foot massager or whatever. I didn't fix somebody's foot massager, but I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't fix like the nasty stuff, like cleaning out underneath a, uh, a shed and then building a skirt around the shed. I did stuff like that, and that's actually how I paid for my wife's first engagement ring. Um, Freaking interesting. But, yeah, that was,
But do you think it's because you did those things that people said, huh, I don't need it, but I know a guy. Like I went when I first moved here, I bought a brand new car. I had a flat tire, and the lug nuts were locked. I lost the key.
yeah,
So the guy came up to me, he changed the tire, and he took the lug nuts off. He had to break them off, and he replaced with the spare. And I said, "How much?" He's like, "Nothing." And I'm like, "What?"
what? Yeah, what?
And then I have gone back to that man every single time I needed anything.
Yep, absolutely.
But it was because
Yeah,
that one time he's like,
yep.
"It's no big deal."
The
I just
skirting job, I didn't even ask for money. Like, I was so broke and I was so broken because I was knocking so many doors and so many people were saying no. I was in the wrong area. I was in the wrong area of the city completely. And I just did not understand location, location, location. I did, but I didn't. I didn't wrap my head around how to storm, where I needed to be, how to read a storm map, where to be at in a storm map, and at what time in the storm. I'm in like 8 months working in an area that has already got new roofs. Like it was really, really hard. And so uh, that kind of plays back into that resilience. And like I just showed up. Like, yeah, you need help. All right, I'm showing up and I'm believing that, my God's going to take care of me. And ultimately, I feel like I've always had that, right? Like I've always had that because I believe I have something there that I believe, whether it was in the abuse, whether it was in the addiction, whether it was in, roofing sales, whether it was before sales, there was, there's that innate belief that I've got in God that I can lay on, that I can rely on, right? Uh, for me to be able to get past any situation. And it's not easy, I mean, but I love the trades. The trades is there are so much because like the title of this, right, is, wealth in the trades. Um, it's insane the level of wealth that is in the trades. You were talking about like people with the biggest like houses and biggest trucks and I
yeah.
mean Kurt Lennington owns a roofing company in Dallas, Texas called Linear Roofing. The guy has I think it's like one of 10 Bugatti, a Bugatti. Okay. This is not a Ferrari. And mind you, I know a lot of roofers that have Ferrari. I know a lot of people in trades, period. Plumbers, roofers, framers, made. I mean, they have made their money in the trades. And it's
Hey, bro,
just
let's talk about something because I have several friends that are multi-millionaires in the
okay.
trades, and when I've had them on the show, the something they said is you have to know your audience.
Yeah.
So now, if a plumber comes to my house, I don't expect him to be in a three-piece suit. I at least expect him to be wearing jeans, a shirt that has his company's name, clean, and then I go walk out to look at his truck. What does it look like inside and out?
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't care about what he looks like or what the inside and the outside of his truck looks like, he's not going to care what under my sink looks like.
That's a good way to put
talk
it.
about how important it is to represent your company. If you want to be $1 million company, you can't be number one if you look like number two.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of one of the basic things that I learned. I'm going to put this out there. Some of you may not like this, and fuck you if you don't like it. Keep scrolling. I don't care. I was young in sales, and Brock Ford, if you're out there, thank you so much for teaching me this lesson. I hadn't found my father yet. I was 18 or 19 at this time, working for RRSA. I was in Amarillo, and I had a tongue piercing. And I was, they're like, take the tongue piercing out. I'm like, all right. So I put a clear one in, and I'm just gonna say, people know, like, people pick up on stuff like that, and it's not like, I'm not saying that like tongue rings or nose rings or earrings or any kind of rings are disrespectful or nasty or unprofessional, but I will tell you one thing: if you have a tongue ring in your mouth, you're like you're always playing with it in your mouth, outside of your mouth, and so I get called into the office, and I've got like a massive check I'm picking up. It's like $5,000 or $6,000. I'm absolutely ecstatic because I got the money to go from a shit apartment in Amarillo to a really nice luxury apartment with granite countertops and washer and dryer and 10-foot ceilings and crown molding and all the stuff that I never had. And so I'm excited. And I'm like, okay, he's handing me my like first sizable check. I needed a truck too. I bought a truck. And so but no, it was not my check. It was you got two options. He's like, hey son, come sit down. I'm like, all right, cool. I sit down and he's like, hey, and just imagine like a Texas country guy with handlebar mustache, cowboy hat on. He's got a ranch, bunch of cattle and horses. Like, he's a wrangler. Okay, he's in cowboy boots, and he's like, "All right, son. Now I'm gonna tell you something right now. Stick your tongue out." I stick my tongue out. He goes, "Now you got two options, son. You can take that motherfucker out and throw it right there in the trash. You can get the fuck out of my office and never come back, and I'll mail you this damn check." And that was the time that I decided that I was going to pay attention to what I look like. Even to this meeting, I did my hair, I took a shower, I did my hair, I combed my beard, I freaking brushed my teeth. I'm on a podcast. I brushed my teeth. I got nice. I look nice, right? Because it's important how you look. People are watching right now. Cameron popped in earlier. Thank you, Cameron, for coming by. And I'm going to call him whenever I get off of here. People watch and people are watching you. And so when you go to the front door and you've got breadcrumbs on your chest from eating freaking pizza in the car, and trust me, I get it, having to eat on the run, but like take a second to get yourself together before you're going to be in a professional setting, because people, the first thing that they do is they look down, they look up, and they may even look down again, just in case like something catches their eye, maybe in the bad way. And if something does catch it bad in the eye, they're going to focus on that, and they're going to continue to focus on that through the entire thing. And they're going to assume a lot of things about you because of how you have presented yourself. And I'm not saying that if your, shoes are dirty, that they're going to look at you some type of way. But like, if you're in a sales position, you're not in the tech position, two different places, two different positions. There's two different ways that the people expect you to look like. And so, no, if you're knocking doors, no, they're not expecting you to look like you're going to church, but they expect you to look like you're a professional and that you're not a slob. And yes, that had a lot to do with the success that I had. I always paid attention to what I looked like. A lot of men wear hats. Hats are professional too, especially if it's custom branded, right? I know I like that custom branded hat. Yeah. And so, and especially if it's cold, hot, wet, whatever, sensitivity to heat, and also the sun, just being out in the sun for a very long time. But I'll tell you right now, if you want to take your sales to the next level, the one thing that I'd encourage you to do is to tuck your shirt in, have a nice, presentation with yourself, and do your hair. And when you are at the door, instead of like trying to tell them what you want to tell them, shut up and listen. And if you can just listen to their problem, even if you can't solve all of the problem, because that problem could be 100 different problems.
So let me ask you a question, because where I live, half hour from here, there's a town called Newark, New Jersey, where it's the hood.
I know where Newark is.
But then a half hour from the other way is a place called Alpine, where the average household, average house prices are $2 million.
Yeah.
So when I talk to some of my friends, are like, it takes me a half hour to go to Newark, takes me a half hour to go to Alpine. It takes me an hour to knock doors in Newark. It takes me an hour to knock doors in Alpine. Which one do I want to go to? Because the world will give you exactly what you ask for.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah. If you're not making money, make it, if you're doing $60,000 houses, if you can get into doing $2 million house, because those rich people, they're going to be like, hey, I seen him over there. Why don't you come to me next? Right. And then it just starts. So pick where you want to be.
So yeah, personally, I haven't done like insurance claims. I don't like do insurance claims per se. I will do them on $5 million homes and above. And so when you set yourself for that demographic, then somebody may say, hey, listen, I don't have a $5 million listing, i.e., real estate or roofing or plumbing or plug your trade in here, but I have a $2 million listing. Would you consider it? Send me the information. So immediately you're still within that class, right? You're within a certain class. And it's not that middle class or lower class is a bad place to work. There is a specific need and a specific set for every single business. And for me currently, I don't want to deal with anything other than $5 million homes and above, because I know that the insurance carriers know exactly what they're doing. And they know that I know what I'm doing, and they know the history and the rapport of the client. One of my clients is actually the family I'm dealing with, a couple of the homes, uh, they're reality TV. And so the insurance carrier knows who they are because they watch TV. And so they're like, there's a different dynamic there. They still sometimes have to go to court with these claims, but like sometimes they don't, because they have that. Okay, you have a $5 million home, you have insurance that's rated well over that because they've got contents. And if you got a $5 million home, you probably have anywhere between $2 and $3 million worth of stuff on the inside, maybe more depending upon what's in the garage, right? And or what's in the backyard. Koi ponds, bro, turf, grass, mosquito repellent lines on your fencing, your everything, like you name it. And these homes have got it. They've got basements that need pumps and all sorts of things. And so, big shout out to Washington Ho. The only good money is Ho money. No, I'm just. It's one of the taglines of the new reality show H2Ho. Really going to be awesome. It's a spinoff of House of Ho that was on HBO. So pretty excited, and I'm helping direct that. So you guys watch for the reality show / vlog that is H2Ho. Anyway, so yeah.
Well, the reason I want to bring it up is because if you're dealing with somebody that's high end, they're going to be a pain in the ass. But when you ask for the money, they're going to be like, do you want a credit card or do you want a check? Where if I'm dealing with somebody on the low end, they're going to be a pain in the ass, and then they're going to hem and haw when I ask for that check.
Have like a stack of cash, and the cash is solely for their tradespeople, because they know that tradespeople got to make money, and listen. People that have money want to keep their money, and so it's not always an AC replacement. It may be, hey, I need to fix this AC. And this AC is busted up, but I can fix it. And instead of going and just getting a brand new AC and charging the client exuberant amount of money, the people that own these homes are smart, and they've gotten to where they're at because they are smart with their money. And so you have to. I kind of agree and I disagree. I've had clients that are super easy to deal with. I have clients that are super difficult to deal with. Mainly the people that are super, super difficult to deal with are not $5 million listings. They're the $30,000 homes. They're the not $30,000 home. They're the $30,000 jobs. They are the $150,000 homes where the homeowner is a first time homeowner buyer, first time home buyer, and they're just so into the home. Maybe they even remodeled it, right? They're so into it that they bird dog you. And then and if you don't know what I mean is, the bird dog's just like all up on top of the bird and all on top of the hunter. The hunter's like, is poised and ready for the birds to drop. And that dog is just ready to go. Some of the best clients I've ever dealt with are these $2 to $10 million homes where the homeowners are writing over a 50, 70, $100,000 check and they're not even blinking. Like, I've had them hand me this check with no information written out and I have to write it. That right there is trust. When you're dealing with that type of client, though, it's different. They're in a different mindset. You're right. I think that, I know that you manifest what you want out of life. And if you want to, then to be quite frank, if you surround yourself, you're surrounded, your life is dictated by pretty much the 4 or 5 people that you hang around with. And if you hang around with people that are A, lower income than you, B, have problems in their life, C, have marital issues, they don't read, they don't love their community. These are all the issues that you're going to be dealing with that are like consistent issues that aren't issues that upper class deal with. And if you want,
but I also think it's a mindset. Like a little while ago, our whole AC unit went air conditioning, heat, and we had to come in and get it fixed. But
yeah,
not only am I looking at, okay, I need air, I need heat, but how much value is this going to add to my home down the road when I go to sell it? Oh, you got a brand new roof, you got a brand new air conditioning unit, you got a brand new boiler. That's adding value to your home. And a lot of people don't think, they're just like, how much is this going to cost me in the short term? They're not playing the long game.
absolutely. Yeah. Some of the clientele that are out there, they're really smart. Like I said, they're really smart with their money. And then there's some that really don't understand, with the value of what they're doing to their home. And so you're knocking doors and you're out there trying to get these leveraged relationships. And that's really what a sales rep does, is leverages relationships. But if you're out there, you're knocking doors, you're trying to like figure out why these clients don't want their roof done or don't care that their roof done. Look at the value of their home. Now, do you think that someone with a $10 million home or a $5 million home or $1 million home or even a $500,000 home is going to let their roof rot off? No, because they have everything inside, and that is protecting everything that they have. So in my eyes, I think, what's crazy is like, I think back to classifications, back to band, because band, I was in percussion. And they're like, percussion's the heartbeat of the band. Tubas, tubas are like, the soul of the band, and on and on and on, right? And so I like think back to that, and I think that the roofing is one of those like, heartbeats to construction, along with a lot of the other ones, right? So, and I think that everyone has their place, like, the concrete, the framers, the plumbers, the electricians, sheetrock, paint, roofers, siding contractors, gutters, windows, framers. I said framers twice, but anyway, you look at every single one of those that I just named, and in every single one of those industries, there's millionaires. Every single one of them. There's not one trade industry that I named and that I didn't where there's not a millionaire within that trade industry. It there is money that is out there to be made. You just have to find it. And if you'll take the mindset, and I'm glad you said mindset, as if you'll take the mindset that you got to do what it takes and it doesn't matter what it takes, and you just go and do it, that's when you win.
Okay,
And
but let's talk about mentorship for a minute, because the guy that wrote the back of my book, John Lee Dumas, he has the #1 entrepreneur podcast in the world. He makes over $250,000 a month from his podcast. I had to hire him to teach me how to become a top podcast. So sometimes you have to, even if you can't hire somebody, you could say, Mr. Jack Black, I see you have an amazing roofing company. I would love to take you out for lunch if you let me pick your brain. 9 out of 10 times, if you're nice and if you're humble, they're going to say, sure, or might even offer you a job. But sometimes you have to say, because success leaves clues. What are they doing that you're not doing? Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, relationships is where I'm at, where prior I was taught like it's what you do, not who you know. And it's 100% it's who you know and what you do. If you are a business owner and you don't network, then your business is going to be reflective of that. If you're not paying for marketing, or if you don't market yourself, and marketing is many different things. Let me give you one piece of marketing real quick. Okay. I'm just going to turn my body right here. This is a solid piece of marketing that I keep right here. It's a JBL clip from Chad T. Wilson Law Firm. Okay. These are my sponsors for my podcast. Chad T. Wilson Law Firm is a first party insurance law firm. They are your anchor of defense against denied claims. And so that's a piece of marketing right here that it just sits there, and you're not necessarily you've probably looked at it like 3 or 4 times, but you haven't like you're not like let me tell you what I'm trying to say. Okay,
Are you trying to say something like up there that just
yeah,
scrolls along the top
keeps
that I
on
don't
going.
have to?
It's subliminal. It's subliminal. It's subliminal. It's subliminal.
Yep.
You have to see something like 7 or 8 times before you do business with that person. And so here's one. And then I haven't so I got a new backdrop. I forgot. Here it is. So normally I have a sticker that I put back in the back, but I think we elected to not do the sticker and to do this because the sticker is reflective. So you probably already seen that. Reflective. So when you're shooting video, reflective substances aren't really great whenever you've got a refractive lens rather. Refractive lens. I've been watching podcasts too much. I'm just gonna, it's gonna stop. So hey, listen. I'll tell you a roofing joke. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I would, but it's over your head.
All right, guys. It's been nice. We go. But let's talk about what you just talked about, because 9 times out of 10, I don't leave my house unless I'm wearing swag of my own company. Why am I going to wear Nike? Why am I going to wear Under Armour? Why am I if I can't wear my own stuff when somebody's walking around? If I'm walking around, somebody be like, "Oh, I seen you before," because I've seen your shirts around.
I mean, it's a good way to brand for sure. I mean, today, actually, here recently, in like the last 7 to 8 months, I have, because I'm diverse and I do a lot of different things, I haven't had like a full like workup of brands or anything, because I work with a lot of different brands. So personally, like I have Content Cartel Media, which hosts Roofing on the Rise podcasts, and but I also work with Washington Home Media and uh, 3 or 4 or 5 different media companies. And so when I'm doing that, we're doing all different kinds of stuff. Anyway, so I think it's important to have some sort of uh, subliminal messaging, and we're talking about the difference between a logo and an icon in a podcast the other day, a business podcast in Houston, and I don't know, I can't. No, can I share my screen? Yeah, here, hold on. Let me see if I can do that. Let's see. I want to show you something. Coca-Cola. Okay, so the Coca-Cola icon has developed um, over the past few years, actually over the past decades, um, and it's crazy the way that it's developed. So, you know the difference between an icon and a let me see this. Share, boom, boom. You can, if you want, you can share that. If not, you don't have to. Um, this is what I wanted to show you right here is the difference between uh the icons from Coca-Cola in the years. So you got 1986 to present, or 1986 to 18, or excuse me, 1886 to 1887 is Coca-Cola with the period right there, and it's black. Then Coca-Cola took a completely different shape in 1887 to 1941, a very long period of time in which that it was the big black letters that is a little bit more decorative, and it is in cursive. Next, you have the cherries that are hanging off of it, 1890. These are all icons. 1891, you have the box, same lettering, drops the cherries, right? Then the next one, 1941 to present. That one right there is what people consider the classic Coke icon. Now you can remove my screen. I'm good.
Well, it's kind of like,
Um,
everybody knows the Nike Swish.
right, exactly.
And it's no matter what color it is, whatever, you still know that shape.
Yeah,
But,
Nike.
there's a reason why, everybody knows who Coke is. Well, they keep on advertising,
You know how much they've paid for rebranding?
right?
Billions.
And it's like,
Billions of
it's kind of like who's not using toilet paper, but there's still commercials for toilet paper.
I mean, there's 30 different. Okay, listen, this also proves if you're out there and you're like, I don't know if I want to go into business, this also proves like go into business. Why? Because there's 30 different types of toilet paper. Uh, when you pull up a computer, there's 30 different types of computers. When you pull up podcast mics, there's 30 different kinds of mics. Everybody likes their different kinds of mics. This one's my precious. This is the Shure SM7DB. I love this thing. But you love the one that you have, and it's gorgeous. I actually like that style. I actually been looking for something that has this kind of quality, but that kind of style because I like that. I actually kind of want one that hangs down from the top like the old radio style.
Yeah.
Those are so freaking cool. Everybody has their different style, and there's so many people that like. How many people have a phone? How many phones are out there? There's a jitterbug. But the people that are successful create icons. And that's the reason why I brought up icon, because you said something about branding. And I
Yep.
said branding is a perfect thing to talk about. But when you're talking about branding, you got to make an icon. You got to make something that's iconic. So I'm wearing something that is iconic that has uh, captured me recently, and that's this brand. This is the Psycho Bunny brand, and it's kind of your. It's marketed to like your 20s and 30s dads and kids, right? And so you see the way in which that they make things like this. This is just a bunny that uh, actually kind of looks like it's a skull, right? So it plays on both that old Playboy bunny look, but that kind of skull look, that tough look, right? This company's blown up, absolutely insane. And it's important that you notate that in your local community too. There's local designers here in Houston that I'm going to be working with on some podcasts here rolling forward. Really excited about it. And they're local clothing designers, and they're just killing it. And icon is super important to them. The logo, not just the logo, but the icon. So Apple, right? Apple. You know that I have an iPhone because I said Apple.
Yep.
When you say Samsung, most of the time you think of Android, that little green and gray Android, right? Blueberry, the BlackBerry. I always think of a handheld phone, little white device, but I think of berries because it's a berry, BlackBerry phone. There are all different kinds of people that are out there, but the most successful people, the most successful business owners, corporations that are out there, they make people believe in their icon. That's why I brought up Coca-Cola, because Coca-Cola makes you believe in them. It's not just a drink. You don't watch commercials of people just drinking Coca-Cola. They're having a little bit of it now, like refreshing in the summer and stuff like that. But for the most part, you remember Coca-Cola off the polar bear, off of red and white.
Yeah.
Like, it's the thing that you remember about them. What about Red Bull?
It's got
What if
wings, baby.
it's got wings? But Red Bull, you don't watch Red Bull. You don't click on Facebook to go, okay, let me go look at the Red Bull uh, commercial. And it's like, why? Because the Red Bull commercial is not talking about drinking a drink. They're showing a amazing entertainment of them jumping out of a plane and drinking a Red Bull in between the planes. Skydiving.
It's kind of like me, like with my course that I teach and my books. I'm not just teaching about podcasting, but I'm also showing you. I'm taking pictures of me in the Bahamas on the beach.
Yeah.
I'm taking pictures standing on a Swarovski crystal staircase. I'm giving you the benefits of what I do, but I'm not talking exactly about what I do. I think that's what you're talking about. But now I got kids. I got a 22-year-old boy and I got a 19-year-old boy. And now if somebody asks me, should my kid go to college or should they go to the trades? I'm leaning more towards the trades because I'm seeing the people with the nicer house. I mean, if they have the skill, if they don't have any kind of skill, that's different. But I see the people with the big houses in my complex. They're the one with the nice yards. They're the one with the pools, the cars, the Lambos, and they're in the trades and they own big trade companies. So I would suggest for people that can and have skill to get into the trades. What do you think about the kids that are coming out of high school now? Should they get into the trades?
So, I mean, I personally like to recruit, younger generation because they're hungry, right? But they're also always constantly developing. And so, like, if you look at the kids that are graduating high school right now, they have um, amazing acumen with computers and with all different kinds of things, and especially if they're learning trades in school, which some schools teach trades, some schools don't. Um, and I think that it's easier to get whenever the brain is ready to learn and it's like soaking up the knowledge, right? I love getting younger people to come in, but there's also that, like, that second chance. Like, that's kind of the trades has been that industry for a very long time where a lot of people have made bad decisions in their lives, and they've like, well, I can't do anything. I can't be a lawyer. I can't do this. I can't do that. And so, like, well, I can be a plumber, and I can, fix a roof, or I can be a framer. I could be the best damn framer in this town, and they do that. And so, yes, if you don't have the ability, you can learn the ability, but you have to apply yourself to that.
And I also believe that, and this is coming from an addict, so I'm not saying anything that I don't know, that some of your best salespeople are recovering, because even Grant Cardone, he was a homeless addict at one time until he made a success his addiction. That addicts can work till sun up to sundown, and they can smell bullshit, but they
Yeah.
also know how to talk to people. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of people that are coming out of addiction, they're looking to a second chance. And I think sales would probably be one of the best things that they can actually do coming out of active addiction.
I mean, um, I wouldn't encourage somebody that's in active addiction to like jump into a roofing company that you don't know, uh, right fresh out of addiction. Give yourself about a year or so.
Yep. Yep.
If you're like desperate, you need a job or what have you, maybe work as a tech for the trades so that you could start learning some of those things that are crucial to know about the trade. Let's just say, for instance, roofing, because I know roofing, roofing techs, we need people that will get up there and will caulk every vent, pipe, and flashing, that will replace a few shingles or a square of shingles or a box vent or whatever, right? We need somebody that'll go up there and that'll replace it, and it will come back down so that we can go on to the next one. It may be just that. They may not just need a full replacement. They may need just that. And so what I'd say is that in addiction, it's super important that you don't like start a bunch of new stuff,
Yep.
because um because you're already in a new place of not having that crutch to lean on anymore. And it comes from a real place in my life, because I was there, about 4 years ago. So I um am speaking from a real place in my heart, where I know that um sales is difficult. But if you have got your mind grounded and rooted, and that's why I say about a year after after getting into sobriety, and if you're not, if you're even, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be sober to get into the trades. Like, that's one awesome thing is, like, I was I was an alcoholic when I got into the trades, and I was an alcoholic because I say I'm an alcoholic, not because anybody said I'm an alcoholic. It's because I figured out that I have a problem. I can't just sit down and have one beer. I sit down and I have all the beers, or I have all the liquor, and then I'm allergic. I break out in like cocaine and handcuffs and shit, and like that's not good. Like, you can't you can't be doing, listen, you can't be in your 30s doing cocaine and trying to be a father and take your kids to school and be a business owner. I mean, you could try and do it all you want, but there's a level in which that where you're at, right? Like, I'm not the guy that can, like, I don't know, everybody's like, there's a moderation for everything, and I believe that to a point. Like, we could, like, talk about existential reality if you wanted to for a second, but, um, I think that, there are people that can go out there and they can have 1 drink, and that's all that they could, they're fine with that. And there are people that can, do that drug, or do um, that addictive thing, and not have an issue. But then there are those people, um, like myself, where I just can't control that. I cannot go to the bar and say, "Hey, listen, give me a neat shot of X," and it just be that. or even 2. I can't I can't. I physically I don't know what it is. I don't understand how my wife can sit down and have one drink and, like, she doesn't need anything else. She doesn't drink anymore now because I don't, but it's that fact that she has something inside of her mind that I don't. Like, I can't think like that. Where she can sit down and have one, I have to have 100. And
Like
so
for me, like we talked about on your amazing podcast, I drink, I die. That's it.
yeah, yeah,
There's nothing else. That's the alternative. I drink, I die. Next, you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
so talk about your podcast and talk about what you've got going on now in your life.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I wanna give a big shout out to my sponsors because they really do take care of my family. They take care of my podcast, and you're talking about mentorship. Um, the manager of the firm, Ken Horn, really awesome fella. That man right there, I look up to. He's an amazing father. He has girls, and I have a girl, and so there's a lot of things that I've learned from that man. Because naturally, I want to be a good father, and I want to I want to do the right thing. And so, I like to sit down and have cigars with Ken and and just talk about life, right? And that's that Chad T. Wilson law firm, right? Um, they sponsor my podcast, so I have a podcast, lovely set that I have right here, and I talk to business owners and property owners and all different kinds of people that are either in roofing, they're in solar, or they're in business that can somewhat relate to the roofing and solar business, or they're a coach or a business mindset development. I like to deal with those kinds of people, and so the podcast is an amazing way in which that I take care of my family. It is what I do from pretty much your normal 9 to 5. This is my life. So if you're out there and you're in the trades and you want to jump on a podcast, give me a holler. I'd love to be able to get you on. I'm a little diverse, so I am working with a celebrity brand, 2 celebrity brands actually. Erica Rose, she was on The Bachelor, Bachelor Pad, Your Cut Off VH1, Ellen DeGeneres Show, uh, 15 different shows, including Below Deck Sailing Yacht, and she was contestants on a lot of these. And so she was, on real life reality TV shows. And then also Washington Ho, really, really good friend of mine. Wash, big shout out to you and the new brand. Uh, Pretty excited about that and the development of it. I'm helping him develop his brand from having a reality show on HBO and the way in which that reality shows blends into life and how reality shows really aren't reality shows. So we're trying to show that now, right? Like it's scripted a lot of times. And so we're trying to bring that to the world. So I do that. And then I also have a partner with a recruiting firm. So if you're a roofing contractor, solar contractor, or if you're out there and you have someone that you're training sales teams, give me a holler. Blue Llama Recruiting. That's what we do. We find, qualify, and schedule your recruits. Not only that, but we're going to build you out a custom HR process, onboarding process. And that way, you know what's going on whenever your guys and girls come in into the office. You have a standardized training, and that you're set up for success, and they are too. Hiring and retention is one of the biggest expenses for a company, a sales organization, primarily. It costs upwards of $150,000 to find and replace a sales rep. It is super expensive. I'd gander to say it's probably more than that because the time that you have to place into them, it takes over a year. These are statistics. a year for a new sales rep to reach top performance. And so, you got to think about those things. You got to think about when you're hiring, are you hiring people that are going to fit in that acumen? Are you hiring just Joe Blows off the street to just try and find someone that sticks? That does not work. You have to have a systemized way of hiring and firing. Blue Llama Recruiting, save the drama for the Blue Llama. Give us a call, 210-919-8987. And again, Chad T. Wilson Law Firm, first party insurance. You got an issue with insurance, and your insurance company has denied your claim. They are your anchor of defense against denied claims. Chad T. Wilson Law Firm.
How do we find what's the name of your podcast?
Podcast is Roofing on the Rise. It is on Facebook. I actually have this podcast today streaming to it, which I was really excited to be able to do. I'm never on this side, right? Like, I haven't been interviewed in a year, maybe longer. It's been a long time. It's been a while since I've been interviewed. Thank you so much for bringing me on, bro. This was definitely awesome.
Well, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And it's all about building relationships, because you wouldn't be on my show if I wasn't on your show. I wouldn't have been on your show if we weren't friends on Facebook for years.
Yeah.
And then you finally said something about who wants to be on a show, and I'm like, me.
Let's go.
But if we didn't have that relationship from years ago, we wouldn't be talking today. So it's all about building relationships.
Oh, the money is in the data. So if anybody is watching right now, my freaking arm is doing something weird. Anyway, I'll fix that later. The money's in the data. So you got data. Everybody got data, and you don't even know it. You're sitting on a pile of data, and you don't even know it. And that pile of data is your cell phone. And what I would encourage you to do is that whenever you look at your cell phone, instead of looking at it at a device, so like you can pull up Facebook and scroll all day long, but if you look at Facebook as a means to make money and a means to generate wealth and or make money, then you'll start looking at your posts in a different way. And when you do that, you're like, okay, all right, so I have all these friends that are in sales, they're in trades, they're in this, they're in that. How can I help these people solve a problem? And when you help people solve problems, that's when you start making money in the trades.
And even Donald Miller said, if your podcast is not shareable or commentable, don't even put it out there.
Yep.
So I just wanted to say that. And guys, I just wanted to say, make sure I think our episode drops. You're going to drop our episode on Friday. So guys, I talk about some stuff that you don't hear about on here. So, brother, I just want to say I'm truly humbled and grateful for our friendship, and I can't wait to see where this goes in the future.
Absolutely, brother. You too, man. I am super excited about this. You guys watch. You can find it on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, StreamYard, Facebook, and where else? Where are we at? Where else are we at? We're Spotify. So you can find it all of those places. We're about to be on Apple Music, and actually, we're about to change a lot of things the way that we do the podcast. But my name is Marquis, Marquisd, as in dog, Mitchell, Mitchel Sr. I have a pink jacket on and my profile picture. Click on that and click follow. You'll see all the podcasts, all the clips, and I will send you a link to join the podcast.
I love it. So, guys, also make sure you check out verticalmomentumpodcast.com. That's where you can get our T-shirts, our hats, the coffee, the books. Everything is on verticalmomentumpodcast.com. Brother, I just want to say thank you, and I hope you have an amazing week.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Have a wonderful day.
And guys, remember, vertical momentum. The only way to go is up. I love you guys. Have an amazing week.
You too, brother.